entrust our children to teachers who are females and call them future leaders.
Yeah.
But when it comes to leadership, oh no, a girl cannot run the country. We do more harm to ourselves by sectioning out leaders based on gender. I think that should change.
Welcome to this episode of Candid Moments with Dr. D, where curiosity meets conversation. Let's get candid. Our guest for today's episode is Mr. Gabriel Njinimbot, who ran as a Democratic candidate in May 14, 2024, primaries for Maryland's 4th congressional district, where he came in second place, garnering 5.6% of the votes. Mr. Njinimbot made history as the first Cameroonian-born candidate to run for a U.S. congressional seat. Welcome, our future congressman.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Oh, it's such a pleasure having you. I'm so glad we got to meet. I always like to tell my audience where I met my guest. So we got to meet at the Empower Summit 2025. So it was a very enlightening event. We got to meet Cameroon serial entrepreneurs talking about NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and business. So it was a very, very interesting event, and I would encourage every Cameroonian out there who comes across any future invites to please sign up and definitely show up. It was definitely a pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely.
Are you ready?
Yes.
You're my hot seat.
Yes, I'm ready.
So let's get started. So somebody will see you, will think, oh, he's from a rich family, like they'll think, oh, you had it easy. And I got to hear your story, and it was truly an inspiring one. And I think it's something that our audience can benefit from. Can you please tell them your story and how who is Gabriel?
Originally, I'm from Cameroon, in a small town called Balinyama,
Okay.
in the northwestern region of Cameroon. My dad had 5 wives.
Wow.
It's very typical of that region. And we were 19 of us. And my mom was the very last the wife of my dad. And I'm the firstborn to my mom, the only boy. And I grew up essentially in Bali and went to school in GHS Kumbo in Wu Division, also in Northwest Province. Went to university in Cameroon, in the University of Boya, left with a second upper class degree, and eventually sold clothes at the front of the same university I left from, second upper class. And then in 1999, I was lucky to move to the United States with the help of someone who I didn't even know. And that's how I ended up in this country.
Wow. That's a very interesting story. So what are your credentials, and how did they accumulate to get you to where you are now? Or how did they contribute, I should say?
But my parents,
Yes.
it's just good morals. Work hard and understand that life is not that easy.
Yeah.
They themselves, they were farmers. They had no education. They didn't get a chance to see the 4 walls of an elementary school, unlike other people. So we worked essentially in the farms, rearing animals and planting crops, selling them to pay my tuition and the tuition of my siblings.
Yeah.
And so that hard work is what inspired me to work even harder when I was growing.
Yeah.
And when I came to America some 2 decades ago. And while I came here, I flew in with essentially nothing. I knew nobody when I came. And I came as a student. Flew to Chicago and O'Hare and transit to Ohio, going to school. When funny enough, I didn't even have the tuition to go to that school.
Oh, wow.
Nobody was picking me up at the airport. And I was met by some guy, I always call him the Good Samaritan.
Yes.
And he helped me out from the airport to the school. And unfortunately, it was a Sunday when we arrived. And the schools were closed. There was nobody to receive me or anything like that. And he dropped me off on the streets and left. And realizing that there was nowhere else for me to go, he came back and asked if I knew anybody in the country. And I said, I have some relatives in DC, but they don't know I'm here. So he took me to a Greyhound bus station, paid for my bus fare for $60, I can't forget that, and gave me another $20 to buy food on the way. And it was a 12-hour ride through Greyhound. And that's how I ended up in DC.
Oh wow, that's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
I call it a beautiful story because it's somewhat miraculous. You know, when you think about the odds adding up, that's what we're talking about. A young Cameroonian village boy from Balinyonga getting a visa to come to the US and eventually meeting this good Samaritan. And basically, him sending you to DC is basically the start of your American journey and American dream.
It was.
Because he could have left you on the side of the curb.
And I was very grateful for that guy. When I got to DC, we stayed in touch for a couple of months.
Yes.
And then, you know, I tried to call him just to be thankful for sending me over here, but at some point he stopped picking all my calls.
Oh.
And
he was tired of the thank you.
Yes.
I'm sure you should see you running for office now.
I don't know where he is right now.
Oh yes.
I always wanted to be able to say thank you to him for any progress I made while I was here in DC, but unfortunately, I never got hold of him again.
That's okay.
Yeah.
One of the wisest women in my life always says, kindness is something you don't pay back. It's something that you pay forward. So I guess it's just finding your own little boy on the curb and him holding his hand to get him to where you're sitting in, you know, so.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And I try to do that. I've gone back to Cameroon to the schools I went to the hospital I was born at.
That's good.
And tried to give back to some extent.
That's good.
Paying forward.
Yes. Well, we're very proud of you. I'm very proud of you. Just your accomplishments, the bold step you're taking. You're a trailblazer, in my opinion. Like it says, first ever Cameroonian to run for a U.S. congressional seat. Like that's crazy when we think about the amount of people who immigrate from Cameroon to the United States and our population here, and you daring to do that. So we're certainly very proud of you.
Thank you.
I cannot not talk about, you know, your congressional experience and running for that office. How was that like in terms of everything? I know it's such a loaded question to unpack, but like, what was the trigger, right? First things first. And then second, how did you fund this thing, you know? And then what did it take from you and what did it give to you?
Yeah, I've always had my inspiration from the very first day I came to this country. I worked at a seafood restaurant in College Park, Maryland, just down the street, as a dishwasher. I washing dishes and serving tables and bussing tables. And the pay wasn't what I expect. And I always ask myself, it's the United States of America, and somehow there's got to be ways of improving people's conditions of life, be it as an immigrant or a nurse or a school teacher or a police officer, just the regular folks in the streets. And over time, I realized that there are people who make these decisions. And if we, the ordinary folks on the streets, or the ordinary immigrant or teacher or nurse, doesn't have a true representation in these offices where these laws are made, or on the table where the decisions are made, there's no way our interest is getting looked upon. So I've always been inspired that someday, somehow, I want to be on that table to speak for the ordinary guy on the streets, the bus boy, the teacher, the nurse, the immigrant population. There's always been that burning desire for me to represent them, knowing that I would genuinely be someone speaking for them. I would be their voice. And obviously, running for a congressional race, it's something that's always far-fetched to a lot of people. Because if you know what it takes to be in that room it's almost impossible. It's like, who am I to be here? Obviously, I don't have a very rich family.
Yeah.
I'm not making millions. I don't have people who support me, people who back me. But knowing that it's the United States of America where we all were created equal, as
Yes.
they say, and I thought that this is something I should try.
Yeah.
And initially, I thought of it all alone because I figured out, knowing what it is, knowing what people think about such a position, it is one of the most powerful legislative branches of government on the planet. Someone like me, there was not even a chance. But I went ahead and came up with a plan all by myself, knowing that it's not going to be easy. We ran a grassroots campaign for 18 long months.
Wow.
But the first, I think, 12 months or so, it was on me. I made approximately 10,000 calls on my own, talking to people from all walks of life. I bought the voter file where I could see everybody who votes, everybody who is registered to vote, is voting or not voting. And I decided to reach out to them. And believe it or not, it was not a very easy task.
Yeah.
The goal was to make at least 300 calls a day. Sounds like it's not very difficult, but it took me 8 hours every day to make 200 to 300 phone calls. Logging in the concerns of the constituents, what they care about the most, what they need or see that needs to change, and logging in, and so I can use those as a talking point to talk to them and let them know that I can be a true representation of theirs. As far as fundraising, the very first 8 months or so, there was no money. I was the campaign manager, I was the food organizer, I was the financial controller, I did all my paperwork, the filings at the state level, at the federal level, because I couldn't pay for these things.
Yeah.
Now, I had taken the previous 3 years in doing research as to how these things work.
Okay.
And it helped me a lot because prior to me launching my campaign, I had planned for this, planned not to work for 2 years, and planned to be able to survive for 2 years.
Yeah.
And so it gave me a good platform as to how to start, what to say, how to say, not to get into legal problems with the federal government and things like that. So it wasn't specifically easy. It cost $1.5 million on average to run for any kind of congressional seat. Specifically the House seat, the Senate seat is more than that. But on average, it's about $1.5 million. Now, when I got my foot on the ground and had a handle of the issues and how to talk to people and felt comfortable I could ask for money, I started asking from the circle, my small circle of friends, and then families.
Okay.
And then the word went out, and then we had donations coming in. I think we raised about $100 and something thousand, which was a drop in the bucket.
Yes.
But we managed to start off with that.
I'm so proud of you. What I'm hearing from this story is a man with a fearless determination.
Yes.
And I'm also hearing, like, the word that keeps coming to my mind is courage, courage, courage. Because people always think courage is like the absence of fear, but it's actually the presence of fear that breeds courage.
Yeah.
Because if you're like comfortable doing something, then there is no iota of courage that goes into you doing. That's almost like your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And a lot of us still exist within our comfortable limits. But this was you doing something, daring, stepping into the unknown, and preparing for it. So it also means you're a strategist.
Yeah.
You know, like there's so many things I can use to describe you. Anticipating your future, making your vision, writing it on paper, doing the work that it takes. And I definitely think there's going to be a reward for that. So I believe in my faith that there's going to be a reward for that. But that's very interesting. So, like, where do we come in as Cameroonians, right, in this political framework in the United States? Because one of the things that I've always realized is that we're always waiting for 4 years. Yeah, we're always waiting for the presidential elections because it is the biggest election in the nation and eventually in the world at some point. But what is our role in this, like the state elections, the local elections? What can we do, and what is the importance of those elections? Because I think we have a tendency to undermine what those elections can do for our interests and just focus on the presidential elections.
That's a very interesting question. And let me go back and talk a little bit about the daring part of it.
Okay.
I'm a very private person.
Yeah.
Most people didn't know who I was.
No, I didn't know who you were.
And I have a small business which you work
Yes,
with.
yes.
A few people knew or knew me as a result of that business.
Okay.
Outside of the little community, I'm very unknown.
Yeah.
So, coming out and putting myself out in public and opening myself to criticisms and all sorts of talks was a huge challenge for me. Because putting your name on the ballot is saying the 1.2 million constituents of Prince George's County, they're gonna go online and check who the heck is this guy. And then not just Cameroonians, all immigrants, everybody in the country, even the world, they're gonna go out and look. So that was very, very challenging the first few months. I couldn't sleep because I wasn't sure about what was going to be the outcome of that. What are they going to find out about this guy?
Yeah.
What kind of crime did he commit? So fortunately, I went through that very difficult moment, and then after that, everything was kind of smooth sailing. When it comes to elections, change can only come through the ballot box. And the only way this change can be effective if we go out and vote. It's not just a Cameroonian thing, it's not just an immigrant thing. It's not just for small business owners, it's for everybody. Interestingly, most people do not go out and vote. Cameroonians and Africans, or most immigrants, is the worst. Because we move into this country with big dreams and try to just make sure that we have a roof over our head, we have a job, and we work 16-hour shifts, but we forget that behind the scenes, the decisions that govern your income, the roof over your head, the air you breathe, the cars we drive in, the schools we send our kids to, the work environment, all of this is governed by somebody.
Yes.
And this body is put in place by voters. So the issues that you care about, if you don't vote for it, if you don't go out and vote, your issues are not going to be discussed. That's when money comes in. Big guns and lobbies and corporations and big business owners and developers. They pump in the money, they influence the politicians, and whether you like it or not, they're going to swing into that direction because there's money involved. Now, I urge every Cameroonian, every Nigerian, every Ghanaian, all Africans, all immigrants to pay attention to votes, to politics. The political process is something you can't avoid. Because if you don't be part of it, someone else will.
Yes.
And there's someone else who they will care for their own interests. And then next thing you know, why is it that I work 16 hours and I only get paid such and such? Why is it that our property taxes are so high? Why is it that our schools are not the best? Why is it that, and the why is it goes on and on and on. But the reason is because a good majority of us don't even know when there's an election. Don't even know what the election is all about.
You're calling us out.
Don't even know who is your councilman. Who is your county executive. Who is your local ward chair. Those type of things. We need to be part of this. We need to know who is who, when is an election, are you registered or not, when is the deadline for registration, when are the mailing ballots coming in. And so I found this out during the election, that most people don't even know when the election is. Because the only time we know about the election is, like you said, the presidential election. There's so much buzz about it.
Yeah.
But your very local election in your city or in your county, people have no idea when that is. So it is good to know. And that's part of my responsibility as somebody who ran and almost won, that I'm going to make sure that I knock on all the doors and I'm in every little group to make sure that people are aware of when these elections are coming up.
That's good.
So they can go vote. There's a lot of us who are US citizens, because only US citizens can vote.
Yeah.
We have all the rights, we have all the documents, but we don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put all the blame on them. I'm going to put the responsibility on people like us who are running for office to make sure that they know when this is coming up by informing them about the importance of you being part of the political process, informing them about the effect and the influence of your involvement to your child, to your teachers, to your houses, to your taxes, to your work environment, to our senior citizens, to our police officers, and so on and so forth. But there's no way we can succeed in this
if we're not participating. Yeah. You know, once you're talking about that, it's clicking a bell about Stacey Adams in Georgia, the immense impact she had when she basically took her campaign into the community. First, she just started out by registering people to vote and realizing how many people who were eligible to vote who were not registered to vote, and then bringing in, like, changing the whole ballot, the aspect of the ballot pool in Georgia. Like, overnight, this lady transformed Georgia from a red state to a blue state, just in her strategy. So I do agree with you that can be a potential strategy. Education. One of the things while reading up on you, I also came across was your statement about trying to make voting like a public holiday, so that way people are not spent at work, but can actually come out to vote without any sense of guilt about losing maybe an income. Because a lot of the people that you represent are people working the 16-hour shifts and the tedious work, and basically living paycheck to paycheck. So I definitely, that's a strategy that I agree with, but I think it might be so hard to accomplish.
And this is part of what Stacey Abrams was fighting against in Georgia. It's a strategy which most people don't realize is a strategy for voter suppression. So they knew, or they know, that an ordinary person who makes $10 an hour or $12 an hour, he's not going to lose 12 hours of work a day just
standing in the line.
So they put it on a Tuesday, because they know that the ordinary person don't really care about elections. They know that there's not too many ordinary people who are struggling to survive that are politically savvy. So they make this on a Tuesday. Like, why do they pick a Tuesday? Why during the week when they know everybody's going to go to work? They know that the days that everybody's off, or they could make it a national holiday, so many people don't have a choice but to go and vote. So I push that narrative, and I know, they look at me as like I'm crazy. Because they know that I'm
like you're an optimist. Let's see that happen.
Let's see how that happens. But these type of things could change if more voices like myself is on the table to make those kind of decisions. Because these things are not done arbitrarily. It's voted for. Now, who's on the table to vote for?
Exactly. It's who are you picking to represent you?
And the more we stay out of the ballot boxes or the voting booth, there's a chance that this voting is always going to happen on a Tuesday. And they know that those who go out to vote and have always voted will always go out to vote to push their agenda forward. So it's time we start becoming politically aware of some of these things. Most people don't know that, putting an election on a Tuesday has a specific reason why it's done. They just know that, we're going to vote on a Tuesday.
But nobody ever questions it.
Correct. And that Tuesday we're going to be working. I'm not gonna leave work when I know, I have to make $12 an hour for 10 hours just to hurry to go vote.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. So, the Congress is driven by money, huge money. I'm talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, which are dished out to political candidates.
Called lobbying.
Yes, called
Lobbying.
in quotes, lobbying. So that these candidates will push their agenda. Look at gun control.
Yeah.
If the NRA is one of the most powerful lobbying organization in the country. If you don't support gun rules or gun laws, they would easily campaign and vote you out.
Yeah.
Same thing with other kinds of lobbying.
Yeah.
But if we organize at the grassroots level and see how we can influence these things, money will not mean much.
Yes.
But right now, money is running everything because people don't realize the importance of voting vote.
I want to hold that thought because I have like 2 questions. So, one of the reasons I was just thinking about like maybe why a lot of us as Africans don't engage in the voting process is that first of all, we're coming from countries that have never really exercised some sort of democracy. And so we have tended to undermine the power of the vote. Both of us come from a country where we've had a president for over 4 decades, right? So, and he's still, and counting, because he's still planning on running. So, yes, and then you have like the Congos and especially the Francophone Africa. And then, do you think that can be an impact, like why people almost feel like their voices are not being heard? And everybody was looking forward to the election, and you have the people actively participating, standing and watching their counts for their votes. Like this was grassroots. Everybody was looking to Nigeria as the beacon of hope for Africa. Like if that election would have swayed the way everybody thought it was going to, then it was almost like there is hope that we can do something. But eventually it was just back to the same old strategy, us recycling the same old leaders. Do you think that has an impact on just people's morale as a whole when, as Africans, we keep recycling the same old stories?
Yeah, I think if you look at the atmosphere in Africa right now, it's slowly changing.
Yeah.
Because people are disgruntled with the administration that has been there for decades. Yet the roads are still very bad. The schools are unbearable. People are still dying every day in the hospital. Women are dying during childbirth.
Yeah.
So that could be a contributing factor, because when I was growing up in Cameroon, all I knew was that there's going to be an election and there's one guy.
But that's going to win, yes.
So, but people gradually begin to realize that there's a funny game going on. That's why the same people are, winning the presidency every year or every decade. So that idea is changing, but it's just that the system is designed in such a way that the people have no voice in these things. Everybody thought PW was going to win.
Yes.
Like, how did he win the election?
Yes.
With the amount of wave and the change that was going through Nigeria at the time, how did he win? Even here, there were tons of Nigerians who organized and rallied and pushed support for him. He still didn't win. Now, in this country, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
People promote democracy in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
They encourage people to go out and vote. But the setting the setting in this country we have, people worry more about putting food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
They worry more about keeping their jobs. They worry more about making sure they have a roof over their head, that the kids go to school. So they tend not to pay attention to that. Not that they don't have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
So, but it is time we need to change that paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
We need to shift the paradigm to understand that our voices actually matter.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike in an African setting.
Yeah.
If you go out here and vote, your vote actually counts. Because our votes get counted. Now, there's some people say, the computers get tampered with, the software gets. I don't know for sure, but I know that anybody who goes out to vote, it actually counts. You can see candidates like Ocasio-Cortez and
yes.
who ran grassroots campaigns,
Yes.
they win.
Yes.
Unless some huge lobbying company like APAC or NRA swing or pushes tons of hundreds of millions of dollars behind the candidate of their choice, then their candidate will win.
Yeah.
But here in America, we can change these votes.
Yeah.
We can change that narrative. We can shift our paradigm. Say, hey, we can go out and vote and people will win. The county executive for Prince George's County, Aisha Grayboy, even she said that without the immigrant votes, she wouldn't have been a county executive.
Oh, wow.
She wouldn't have been. She said it in one of the meetings that I hosted. She testified and said it to our own people, look, without your votes, I would not have been county executive. What does that mean?
Means we have a voice. We make an impact.
We have a huge
We matter.
In this county alone, there's more than 40% of us are immigrants. 40% of the
Cameroon
population.
Central.
So do you know what that means
Yeah.
if 40% of the population went out to vote? Would I just be talking about me? We'll be talking about a host of immigrants, African immigrants, in their House of Representatives.
Wow.
That can happen. So my responsibility these days is to try to change the idea or the narrative that because we came from Cameroon or from Nigeria or from any part of the continent where democracy or voting was not promoted or encouraged to us, we're not the continent here. We can change this. All it takes, and interestingly, voting is free.
Yeah.
Registering is free. Everywhere you go, you can from your application, from your phone, you can do that. From your desktop, you can do it. From even on paper, you could go to the election board of election and register to vote. It's totally free. And you have months. They give you about a month to send in your mail ballot. You have different ways of doing it. You could go in and vote. You could mail it in. So why are we voting? So there's no excuse as to why we're not voting, especially when we know that our vote actually counts and it has an impact.
Thank you so much for painting that picture.
Yeah.
Especially when you said something about us being 40% of the population in the county.
That's the fact.
You literally painted a picture of like a Congress where we have a Cameroonian, and it's like somebody from Colombia making the decisions for our families and the things that truly impacted us. And that's very inspirational.
Not only that,
Yes.
you have people who make decisions about us who have no idea how we live. No idea what it takes to be an immigrant who came into this country with $100. Immigrants who, in some cases, walk to the country. The journey in which some people actually go through to get here, legally or not, it's not very easy. Now you let people who have no idea what your kids go through. The kids will never find themselves in our schools. They make decisions about our teachers.
Exactly.
They make decisions about the kind of books our kids are reading. How much our teachers get paid, and so on.
So existence in America is basically on the ballot.
Yes.
That's how powerful this is.
Yeah.
Your existence in this country is on the ballot. It's a powerful thing because you can basically determine how power leans. You can either choose to be part of that power and participate in it, or you could exclude yourself and have people drive the fundamentals of your life.
And then complain.
And then complain about it. So I will leave the audience to decide what part they want to partake in,
And just to be more specific, right? In Prince George's County, there's over 1.2 million citizens in the county. And about 600,000 of those citizens are registered to vote. And I went through that voter file, line by line, for 2 straight months. That's all I did. And I was able to read out all the immigrants, all of the immigrants who are registered to vote in that file. And there's over 40,000 of them who are registered to vote. But less than 10% of those people will actually go out to vote. 40,000 of those who are registered to vote. There's another 100,000 out there who
That
are
are not
not
registered.
registered. In 20, I forgot what year what that was, but the amount of votes that actually put one of the members of Congress into office was 68,000 votes. 68,000 votes
Out of 1.2.
out of 1.2 million.
Wow.
So imagine if all the immigrants went out to vote.
They can vote.
We could put a ton of
People
in
representing
the House
us.
of Representatives,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't see it coming. I mean, and they know that we have the numbers, and they also know that those numbers don't mean much because we're not going out to
That's a
vote.
vote. That's a good strategy you're doing. And I think that's what you get when you start looking at the numbers and solving a problem.
Yeah.
It's like you can basically do a whole turnaround, you know. There was a thought I had said, let's hold, that I want to bring back to the table.
Mhm.
We had been talking about democracy, and you know, one of the things that we all learn is with democracy is for the people, by the government, for the people, by the people, and of the people. And when you talk about America's history, it's always been about manifesting destiny,
Right.
which has always been centered around the idea of establishing more democratic governments.
Mhm.
But recently, home and abroad, we have seen leaders that are driving us away from that vision of manifest destiny across the world. We see countries that propagate modern day colonization, and at the same time, we're also finding countries that propagating modern day colonization,
Right.
e.g., Russia, Ukraine, where Russia is trying to annex Ukraine, a full-blown democracy, and then you have a situation in Palestine and Israel, where you have another country like Israel trying to annex Palestine,
Right.
but then we find ourselves at the opposite ends of the spectrum. Are we hypocrites?
It's a very
Or is it
loaded,
political, you know?
very loaded question. If you look at what's happening in Gaza, Palestine, and the Ukraine, and supported by the United States, it's very confusing to me,
Yeah.
to say the least, because you've seen the pictures, you've seen the images, you've seen what's happening in the Ukraine, in Gaza. It's even worse. And then you wonder what kind of democracy
Are we trying to
are we
build?
trying to promote?
Yeah.
Are we trying to build? But it is more of a political. It's very political.
Yeah.
What the country is doing. I'm not sure if you've ever heard about APAC. You know what APAC is?
No.
American Israeli PAC, a political action committee. So APAC, American Israeli Political Action Committee. APAC is the most, second to the NRA, maybe even before the NRA.
The highest.
Very rich, very influential, and more than 80 or 90% of all members of Congress, both in the House and the Senate, is sponsored by by APAC, which is mostly Israelis or Jewish.
Yeah.
And so the aid that goes to Israel against Palestine is approved by Congress for strictly political reasons, because if you do not support the annexation of the Ukraine or the invasion or occupation of Palestine, Gaza, it means that they're going to unseat you from office.
Wow.
And so promoting democracy is I don't know if I should call that promoting democracy, because what kind of democracy are we promoting when hundreds of thousands of people are getting killed every single day?
Yeah.
The city is almost completely demolished.
Yeah.
Like if you look at them,
They're wiping their experiences and their culture out of existence, basically.
Literally, if you look at the map, there is no Gaza.
Wow.
So what kind of democracy are we promoting?
It's like our system has been overrun by money.
Yes.
It's been overrun by money.
Yes.
And it's almost like what I'm hearing is like the people need to take back their power. Yeah, because it's almost like there's no more democracy. Because we have allowed like super PACs, lobbyists, organizations and industries to almost stand in our place.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a very powerful call to order that you're sending out.
It's near impossible for a candidate like myself to even try to run for an election. Because money controls everything. Money controls politics.
Yeah.
My opponent received $6 million from APAC.
Wow.
$6 million from APAC. Enough money for him to do TV ads, radio ads, flyers, organize campaigns, and so on and so forth. And that's what essentially makes it near impossible for the people to take back power.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do that with if you don't have the money to reach out to 600,000 people? And the political action communities, they know that. The developers, they know that. The big organizations know that in order for them to push their agenda, they have their money. So they're going to have to, they will do whatever it takes to maintain power.
One of the things that we have continuously seen in Cameroon is leadership. And coming from a country like Cameroon, you're used to a certain style of leadership,
right,
where it's like the people are there to serve the leaders. And then you come to the US where they're teaching you about a different type of leadership, where the leaders tell you, you voted for me, so I'm here to represent you, I'm here to work for you. Almost like what we call servant leadership. So how has that penetrated into our society? Because I feel like we're still bringing that old ways of leadership into the American framework. And because of that, we are voting for leaders that almost remind us of our traumatic leadership experiences.
Yeah.
Because to me, I know a lot of Cameroonians that voted for President 47. And even despite the fact that he's against their interests as immigrants, and everything he said stood against the immigrant agenda, yet we still went to the voting poll and voted for a leader like that. Some people will use Christianity as a hook, oh, he's a Christian, which that's a whole different conversation we're not going to get into. Some people but you saw this guy under the umbrella of division, speaking profanity, separating people, which is the type of leadership that we're used to, with people pitting tribes against each other in order to win elections, aka Nigeria, Yorubas versus Igbos, Cameroon, the Francophones versus the Anglophones. Yet we still come to to a country like America and still let our trauma seep into the fabric of our voting process.
Right. So the main issue here is that most voters, it's not just Africans.
I know, it talks about people.
They're not in tune to the issues that's at stake.
Yeah.
Otherwise, regardless of what a politician tells you or says about or talks about any issues or any topic of that they feel is at stake, you would think like, you didn't tell me anything about my real estate tax.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me anything about the future of my child.
Exactly.
You didn't tell me anything about the healthcare situation of my grandma. You didn't tell me anything about my neighborhood. If you are in tune to those things, you start thinking, and you would worry about the kind of person you will vote for.
Yeah.
People don't. And that's the power of money. That the rich politicians, they make sure that whatever crazy thoughts they have, be it against immigrants, be it against LGBTQ, be it against whatever they choose to talk about, they flood the airways with these topics over and over again, and they tend to resonate in the minds of other people who tend to forget about their own issues. Let's talk about our brothers and sisters who voted for 47.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of encounters with them. I asked them, what's the benefit
That you have had.
voting for this guy?
Just ask.
And they cannot articulate clearly to me why they're voting for this guy. They go with the public opinion. What he says just to make the conversation entertaining.
Yeah.
They stick to talking points that put no money in their pocket.
Yeah.
Gives them no jobs. And it doesn't even show them prospects of having a job.
Yeah.
Or any prospects of you, the undocumented, having a document, or reducing your real estate tax, or making your community even better, or making the immigrant population wealthier, or having a better well-being.
Yeah.
They just go with the flow without thinking about the issues that are at stake.
Yeah.
That's the trap that most people fall into. And the next thing you know, they all get deported.
Yeah. Another thing to that, I think that it begs for us to bring to the table is the intersection between gender and leadership. Because I personally saw a lot of that play out in my community, where the only reason some people did not vote for Kamala was the fact that she was a woman. And you had women purporting this mindset that, a woman cannot lead this nation or lead in general. And then the other aspect of it now was the LGBTQ movement, which was from a traditional cultural standpoint is something that we don't necessarily practice or we frown upon. And so I always talk about the division between church and state. And the government being there to represent the interests of the people. But what I can never wrap my head about, that's for the LGBTQ movement. It's something I don't practice. It's something my faith doesn't allow me to embrace. But I can understand why the Democratic Party would hold it as a mantle. Because again, this is America, government for the people. We're all free. But I can never wrap my head around the gender intersection part of it. Why we do not think a woman is qualified. And I see that translate in every aspect of my cultural experience. In the village meeting, when the woman wants to run for office, it's a problem. In the church, they rather put her as a secretary, a vice chairperson, a vice of some sort, than actually the leader. Or when they're drawing committees, you see them relegate women to the cooking committee, because that's almost all we can bring to the table. Yeah. What can we tell the immigrant community, our community, about the essence of the girl child when it comes to serving in leadership and being educated in general?
What I would say is times have changed.
Thank you.
Times have changed so much so that the more we relegate our women to the background, it does nothing but take us way backwards.
Yes.
It's time we realize that there's just no way we could relegate our women to the background. Because if you go to every office, every walk of life, every job, there is a woman. Why are we trying to relegate them to the background? When they could do the jobs that men also do. Yeah. They have female pilots. A few days ago, I was flying back from Europe, and the captain of that the 777 was a female. Oh, so you trust your lives to a female captain who is flying a jet that goes 400 miles per hour? You're sitting in the back and she's flying it, but you can't trust her to do everything else. You just trust her in the kitchen. So it's time the society realized that you cannot relegate girl children to the background. You do more harm than good to the community, to the society as a whole, by relegating our children, our female children, to the background. I've been in situations where one of the rules of a community meeting is that a female can never be a president.
Wow.
But she can be a vice president.
Yeah.
Then I asked the question, the essence of a vice president is such that if the president is incapacitated in some form, then the vice president is going to take the lead. So why do we allow that? If you're saying that a female cannot be president, she shouldn't be a vice president.
Yeah.
And they say, well, if the president is incapacitated in some form, they will do an election to get a male president. So I was like, would you do this to your girl child? But it's in our community, it's more of a traditional thing. It's a status thing. but we live in a very, very changing world.
Yeah.
What impression are you creating to your child in that community by telling her, hey, you could never be president? You could literally be sitting in front of a future president.
Yeah.
And you send this message to her every single day or everything she does, you can never be a leader.
Yeah.
What kind of girl child are you raising? What kind of nation are we preparing for? If you create the impression that our girl children could never be taking a leadership position.
It's almost like when Obama ran, it was more than just him. It showed every black boy and every black person that we could have a black person in the White House.
Yeah.
That was what Kamala meant to me as a female. Seeing her in that position was that I can be that, my daughter can be that.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I even look at my mother in this house, I'm like, you're so gifted. You know, and if you came from a culture that encouraged and fostered you, you could have brought so much more to the table.
Right, yeah.
And I see how our communities continue in a state of stagnation because we rather vote for an unqualified male and have him surrounded by hardworking females who would just shoulder his responsibilities than actually put the responsible, well-qualified female leader there. We keep retrogressing, you know, and we fought so much for women's rights and the right for women to vote. So we definitely can do better. And
we sure can.
Yes.
We sure can. I have two girl kids from a girl.
Oh, you're a girl dad.
Yes, I make them understand on a daily basis that the limit is never, the sky is never the limit.
I tell I mentor girl kids, like girl children, and I tell them the sky is your springboard. Like it's literally starting from the sky and you can soar past it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dream as big as you need to dream. And never let anybody tell you your value and the worth that you bring to a space.
Right.
And I tell them that because we are women, we have constantly fighting for our space to be in a room. But I always tell them that never be scared to create your own space.
Right.
Because when we're always fighting for a space, it means that we spend half of our lives fighting rather than actually doing. So I always tell them, never be afraid to step out of that space, create a space, and make people see what that space that you were taken out of could have been if you were there.
It's amazing to me how we entrust our girl children to teachers who are females and call them future leaders.
Yeah.
But when it comes to leadership, when they should actually take advantage of leadership, oh no, a girl cannot run the country.
Yeah.
So we do more harm to ourselves by sectioning out leaders based on gender. I think that should change.
Yeah. You know, we're almost wrapping up at the end of the podcast. One of the questions that I want to ask you is like, what are your plans moving forward in politics? And what can we do to support those plans? And
very interesting question.
Yeah.
I plan to run again.
Oh, I love it.
And my running again is not solely for me, is to show the young girls, the young black boy or girl, that it's possible to do these things.
Yeah.
And that failing is succeeding.
I love that.
And that
This is like people.
if you fail, you should understand that it is part of the process of succeeding. And I also want to prove to them that the color of your skin, your last name, the way you speak, where you're from, is no barrier to your success. And that that office is not relegated or is designed or designated to a certain class of people because they're rich, because they were born here. It's an office that anyone who cares about the people, anybody who cares about the welfare and well-being of an ordinary person can run for. And so I will do it again.
I love that.
At every cost, and I'm hoping that people will rise and realize that we need to be part of this whole process.
Yes.
My very next project is similar to what Stacey Adams did in Georgia, was starting with Project Vote
Okay.
here in Maryland to have at least 100,000 immigrants as say immigrants because they don't register to vote, to have at least 100,000 of them register to vote and hopefully go out and vote. I may not be the one.
They vote for.
Yeah, I may not be the one to vote to win the race, but I'm pretty sure somebody watching this podcast and listening and learning gets the courage to someday sign up, pick up a clipboard and sign up to run for not just the House of Representatives, but for any local election, not just in Maryland, but anywhere in the country, because that's where they're the ones who are actually going to be fighting for the true issues that we face as immigrants in this country every day.
I like that. It's like, you said something is failing is part of the success story.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I was listening to a podcast, I don't remember from who, I think it was from Akon. Akon says failure is a myth because everything we're doing, we've done it for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's the process because you get to learn.
Yeah.
So it's basically you can look at your glass half full or half empty.
Correct.
And you can see it as I failed, or you can see it as this was a learning experience.
It was.
So how do I take from that and build for the next step?
For me, it was, trust me, I learned so much that I could have never read in a book when I ran for office.
Wow.
I learned the experience I can't buy with money, especially because I had no money to work for the office. And so everything was organic.
Yeah.
It was a grassroots campaign, and there was no way I could have read this in a book in a million years. There's no way I could have learned this in school, but it's an experience you cannot take from me. And I can only get better from now on.
That's great.
Some decades ago, to that young boy or girl, I was just like you. I was born in a family where it seemed like there was no hope. But because of my dedication, persistence, and consistency, a lot was done. I went through school, went through law school, opened up small businesses, and took a daring move, something nobody ever thought could happen, and ran for the United States Congress. Not only that, there's so many challenges I faced in life, and I call those successes. So if you're watching this and listening to this, in some remote corner of the world, or in a place where you don't see sunlight and think there's not going to be any sunlight, that's not true. Believe in yourself. Look at all your challenges as learning experiences, because those challenges you have are building blocks for future success. And like the podcast host did say, the sky is this rainbow. Think about it, there's footsteps on the moon, right? People thought that the sky was the limit, but no. Believe in yourself. Don't worry about what people say about you. Don't worry about what people say and say, oh, it's not going to work, or you're never going to be successful. Do not worry about that. Believe in yourself and take it a step every single day. And someday you're going to get there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. By faith, I will start calling you Mr. Congressman. So thank you so much, Mr. Congressman,
Absolutely.
for gracing Candid
Sure.
with your presence today. It was such a pleasure having you. And I'm looking forward to your success story and also contributing to your success and building success with you. So thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.